If all you had was $1, what would you do with it? Spend it, save it, frame it? It's interesting because how you deal in life with one single dollar can literally change your life. Many people think that becoming wealthy is something for the lucky ones, but you should know that this dollar can quickly become 200 and one day millions, even if you live a normal life with a regular job. So let's see how. When I was a kid, I remember I would go nuts if my grandpa even gave me just $1. It felt like treasure. For about 5 minutes. Then I'd walk straight to the nearest store and spend it on candy. But the power of this dollar is not in the dollar itself. It's only in this little piece of cotton. Imagine you find this dollar on the floor. What would you do with it right now? Seriously, take a second. Would you spend it, toss it on a jar, forget about it completely? Whatever your answer is, it actually says more about your mindset than your money. See, when you're stuck in a scarcity mindset, you see a dollar only like a dollar, nothing more. A dollar feels useless. It's like, what can I even do with it? It's barely worth anything. So a scarcity mindset says, I only have $1, that's not enough. What's the point? But it's not about this $1 right now. It's about how you deal with it. You see, the problem with little steps is that they don't look like much at the beginning. If you give up a coffee and say $4, you don't think about what those $4 will become, you just think about what they are now. So why give up a nice daily cup of coffee for just $4, right? What people don't know is that if you're in your 20s and you decide to make your coffee at home and you invest those $4 every day, in retirement, after 50 years, just those $4 per day will have turned into $2 million. And I'm not making this up. $4 per day, growing at an average rate of 10%, which is what you can expect to get in the stock market, if you follow my channel, of course, grows to $2,079,000 when you only had to renounce to a $4 coffee per day. It's all about how you see this dollar. Scarcity mindset, $1 today. Abundance mindset, $1 million tomorrow. Let me tell you a quick story. This one is about me. When I first started thinking about investing, I remember looking at my tiny $100 account balance and laughing. It was like, what am I supposed to do with this? Buy one share of a penny stock and hope for the best? But instead of quitting, I decided to play a little game. Every time I wanted to buy something, I compared that thing not with the money it cost at the moment, but with its opportunity cost. Namely, what I would have lost in the future by spending that money. So it was like $2 bills going in two different directions. $1 bill buys you an object, another sits tight and grows every year, giving you incredible value in the future. This helped me decide if I really wanted things or not. And mind, this doesn't mean living a bad life today for a rich future. Honest to God, I never gave up buying anything important to me. I simply started using a better way to reassess what's important to me and what's not. So this takes us to what I call the $1 million formula. It's simple, but it works if you work it. The first component is your goal. What you want to achieve with your money. You know, the key to getting wealthy by saving and investing is not to make the sacrifice to give up spending money on future things. It's about having a higher goal to the point that the sacrifice becomes instead spending the money on those future things. Because if the money you're saving has a higher purpose, the sacrifice becomes spending it, not saving it. In my case, the higher goal is that I want one day my portfolio to produce more money than what I need to live, so that I don't have to work anymore. For you, it might be buying a house, helping your kids, starting a business, whatever it is. Find your higher goal and the rest will get much easier. And just like the paradox of fitness, where every single day you go, you see no improvement whatsoever, but after some years you notice that you changed completely, your first little investments in the stock market are not gonna look like much. It was the same for me until one day I looked at my portfolio and said, holy do I really have so much? You see, what you do with this dollar isn't important because it's going to make you rich on its own. It's important because it's a reflection of how you think. So the goal is necessary. In fact, if you have no goal, no matter what you do here, the result is always going to be zero wealth. But the opposite is also going to be true. If you have a goal but don't work on these components that we'll see now, goal times zero is still going to equal zero wealth. So let's move now on these components. The first is time. Time is your secret weapon. It's the one thing you don't need to work harder to get. It's always ticking away. And when you invest your money, Time is what allows compound interest to work its magic. Imagine you are 20 years old and you invest just $50 a month into the market. At an average annual return of 10%, by the time you're 60, you're gonna have over $300,000. Let's say now that you wait until you're 30 to start. Well, even if you invest twice as much, $100 a month, you're still gonna have less than $230,000 by 60. A legend narrates that centuries ago, a sage introduced the Emperor of India to the game of chess, and the Emperor was so impressed that he granted the sage any reward he wanted. The man humbly responded that he had a very simple wish: 1 grain of rice for the first square of the chessboard, 2 grains for the next square, 4 for the next, 8 for the next, and so on, doubling all the way through the 64th square. The Emperor agreed in the blink of an eye, amazed that the man had asked for such a small reward. But this single promise led to the collapse of his entire dynasty. By the 30th square, the Emperor's debt had amounted to over 1 billion grains of rice, and by the time he reached the 64th square, he owed the old sage over 18 quintillion grains of rice, bankrupting the entire kingdom and making the humble man the richest man on earth. And this is exactly how investing in the stock market works. The real power of investing is in letting compound interest take its course over the years. Let's say that you decide to invest $500 every month into the stock market. You follow my channel, so invest them in a broad-based index fund like the total stock market or the S&P 500, which historically gave an average return of 10%. Now, in the first 10 years, these $500 are going to generate a $100,000 portfolio, which is not bad, but also not enough to consider yourself rich. But in the following 10 years, something happens. The $100,000 become almost 4 times bigger and get to a total value of $379,000. And after 10 more years, they are already over $1 million. The longer you stay invested, the more your wealth grows compared to what you're actually paying from your pocket. The next key component of the wealth formula is consistency. This is where people mostly trip up. Investing isn't about hitting the jackpot with a lucky stock pick. It's about making that little simple investment every single month, no matter what. Make investing a habit and you won't even notice how quickly you'll become wealthy. And then there's patience. This one's tough because, let's face it, waiting is hard, but wealth doesn't grow in a straight line. There are ups, downs, and flat spots. Patience is what keeps you in the game long enough to see the results. Without patience, you're like the person who plants a seed, checks it every day, and digs it up because it isn't growing fast enough. Alright, we've cracked the formula. Time plus consistency plus patience multiplied by a clear goal. But formulas are just numbers on a page unless you act on them. So how do we take this formula and make it work for us? First of all, remember the importance of time. Start right away. Download a brokerage app and open a free account. From the US, you can download, for example, Robinhood or Moomoo, among others, and you find the links in the description below. From Europe instead, you can use Trade Republic. By using the link in the description, you also get free shares when you start investing. And remember, you don't need to be rich to get started. If all you have is $10 or $20, that's enough to plant the seed. Remember, every millionaire investor once started with a single dollar. And second, you need to know what to invest into. I can't make this video a 1-hour video, so I'll cut it short and suggest you watch my video on how to invest in ETFs for beginners. It will give you the best overview on investing and you'll find it linked in the description below. Now, why am I suggesting ETFs? Because when you invest in a stock market, you can invest in single stocks, which are risky, or in so-called index funds and ETFs. When you buy an ETF, you're buying a cheap package that contains several companies, usually hundreds or even thousands of them. So you can just buy an ETF that represents the whole American stock market, and no matter if some companies go bankrupt or lose value over time, the whole economy long term will keep growing. Next step, remember to be consistent. Make investing a habit and set up your investing routine in a way that you can set it and forget it. Set up a recurring transfer, $50, $100, whatever you can afford, into your brokerage account every month. And in your brokerage account, set up an automated investment every month into an ETF like the S&P 500 from Vanguard, VO. And remember, markets go up and down, but they always tend to go up in the long term. That's why automating your investments every month is going to help you, because this way you're going to invest using the great strategy called dollar cost averaging, or DCA. DCA means you invest the same amount every month, no matter how the market is going. And this is going to give you the best results in the long term. The key is to stay consistent, and the best way to be consistent is if you don't have to work for it, because it all works in the background. And next and last step, Be patient. Trust the process. Think of your investments like a tree. You don't plant it today and expect fruits tomorrow. You water it, nurture it, and let time do its thing. The market rewards patience. And just ignore the noise. Every day there is a new hot stock or a must-buy crypto. Just ignore it and focus on your plan. And if you want an example of somebody that managed to become a millionaire on a low salary, meet Ronald Reed. As a kid, Ronald grew up on a poor farm, and after high school, he worked as a janitor for minimum wage for most of his life. But still, after dying in June 2014 at the age of 92, Ronald became famous because of a secret he hid from everyone, including his own family. They found out he was able to amass a $8 million fortune, and all of this from a janitor job that in the 2000s made only about $22,000 a year. And if you're afraid that the stock market is gonna go down, you should know that yes, it does happen from time to time, but it always goes back up stronger than before. Throughout life, Ronald Reed witnessed 11 stock market crashes and bear markets, most of which saw the market crash for over 50%. And yet, he still held on to his investments because he knew that with some patience and time, the market always goes up stronger than before. Ronald Reed did nothing more than what I'm suggesting here. In other words, find an important goal for yourself, something that you'd love to achieve with your money. Save as much as possible, invest consistently over time in solid ETFs or index funds like the S&P 500, and automate the whole process so that you won't have the impulse to sell during market crashes. This is the magic secret to turn $1 into $1 million. This $1 might not look like much today, but with time, consistency, and patience, it's a foundation of something incredible. So, I appreciate the fact that you watched this video until the end, and if I could be helpful, consider subscribing to the channel to see more content like this. I wish you a wonderful day, and as always, I'll see you in the next video. Ciao!